Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. It's my first time in Kiev and in Ukraine. And I hope that tomorrow I will be able to enjoy the city. I'm going to visit the city. And it's one of the reasons that I like to travel, is to discover new places and to have memories. Because with the memories, I can improve later and think about where the places I've been. And if that place reminds me about another place. And sometimes I always find a place that is, oh, that is like my place, my home. It's usually not true, but like that I feel safer and at home. So I'm going to start talking about how the delivery mindset is evolving. On my professional career, I have been on different projects with Waterfall, Agile. Now we're trying to help companies to use DEVOPS, even it's a fuzzy word sometimes. And it's one thing that is true is that the DevOps movement is changing all the IT organizations, and I can feel that it's like a wave that is changing one organization and after another, because they feel that the IT world is changing. Each time that there's a change with Agile, DevOps, it's always a change that is thought by the developers to get better, and at the end, the C-levels wants to have that on their companies. But what happened with the people between the C-levels and the developers, everybody forget about them, and some of them are project managers. I was a software developer a long time ago, and I was more than happy to forget some of them. And some of them weren't really ready to change, and others, they were ready to change. And they were the catalyst for making me change. So you notice that my accent is different than the usual accent here. So some clues about my nationality: Antonio Banderas, probably you know about him, and also he has a really beautiful first name, or Rafael Nadal. So I'm from Spain, and we have a problem, people from Spain. We talk really fast. I'm making efforts to speak slowly, but it's really complicated. So if I speak really fast, and you think that it's really fast and you are unable to understand me, please raise both hands, and I will be aware, and I will try to speak slower. So a little bit about myself. I started being a Java developer after I went to the dark side and become a technical project manager, and now I'm Agile delivery consultant helping people to do things better and faster, because it's more or less what we want. I think living in Spain, France, and UK, some people here told me that living 9 years in Paris is quite a success, that I already been successful in life because I survived 9 years in Paris, but I like Paris. A lot of different companies, small, big ones, all of them they want to improve and get better and faster. Now I'm working for this consultancy that sometimes in one word it's really complicated for me to explain what we do. So I use a cloud word, and like that, all of you are going to pick the word that you think that we do, and that can be easier for you to understand. What I'm going to talk today is to make some parallelism about history and Waterfall, Agile, and now DevOps. It's also based on my experience, so probably your history on IT is different than mine, but I want to share all my experience because each time that I hear someone else's experience, it provokes a change on my way of thinking, because probably you will help me to think a different way. A Stone Age for me is clearly Waterfall. When I ended to university, I started being a developer, and I was so new, discovering new ways of doing things. One thing that I always want to clarify is Waterfall at the beginning wasn't wrong. It was the correct way of doing things because that was the context. And we have some projects that they did really well being Waterfall. However, now if you change and you are no longer on the Stone Age. Probably you would like to change the way of you are doing. And that's the reason I wanted to see more and to change. Project managers in the Stone Age, when I was a developer, I was always looking at them, doing planning, Gantt charts, giving tasks, assigning tasks. Most of the time, they weren't on the ivory tower that was the sponsor or the C-level, but they were really close to the ivory tower and not that close with the developers. And I had really, really problems with some of the project managers because the interaction with me and with my team was quite not the one that they could like. Sorry. How many of you have you deal with a project manager like this? No one. Oh, you're lucky. I have some issues with some project managers that they were always thinking that they were always right and never wanted to think that that young guy after university could have new ideas that were useful. I have to say that also I was really lucky. I met some really good project managers that they were always thinking about discussing with the developers, trying to get more conversation and listening, because some of the others, they weren't listening. All of these, seeing project managers willing to work with the devs, willing to understand whether the task it was a good one, instead of, okay, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you, because I did the planning, and my planning is really good. All of these make me think that probably it's different ways of working. I have some project managers that they didn't blame others for the mistakes. Also, one of the things that I didn't like of project managers, it was leaving home the first. So say, okay, we need this for tomorrow, and I'm going home, please finish the things. Seeing that there were some project managers different than that, make me think, maybe I need to change, maybe I need to think from their point of view. Because maybe, from my point of view, they are wrong all the time, but maybe they have other pressures. Trying to understand them, I learned how the estimations were really, really bad on that time. When someone was thinking, okay, we need to deliver this project, how long is it going to take? When I was a developer, I always had the time allocated beforehand. No one really asked me. And one day I tried to ask, okay, who estimated that it was 10 days? And sometimes it was, well, you know, we guessed that it was 10 days. Or sometimes it was the person with the highest paid person opinion was always right. The others were afraid to contest the estimation of someone with a higher salary. That didn't feel right for me, but you know, after university, you don't know a lot of things. And also, I'm probably older than I look, or I hope so. One of the things that I noticed at that time, the operation team, the ones that they are going to support the software, I wasn't in contact with them. They weren't even on the same building, and I had the feelings that they were really, really in a dark place that no one else wanted to go there. And I said, that's not right. So, you know that don't you have a feeling that something is not right, but you're afraid to tell people? So that happened to me. That was the mindset that I was experiencing when I was a developer. It was someone really, really high was saying, I want this. The project manager was, okay, yes, sir. Project manager arrived to us and say, the sponsor wants this. We're finishing everything, testing at the end sometimes, and giving everything to ops team. And say, well, it's not my problem anymore. And it was a good moment for us, the developers, but it was the beginning of the nightmares from operation teams. That it was the all times. Luckily for me, when I discussed more with the project managers that were more willing to discuss and to understand others, because believe me, there are some of them, I started to think maybe it's easier to change and to do other things. And that's when I discovered Agile, but I discovered also people afraid to change, people that wanted to do the things as they do before, because they were, you know, I'm a project manager for 20 years. I'm used to do that. why change. The feeling, the thinking, it was, you know, this is working, don't touch it. Why you want to touch it if it's working? This software in production is working for 20 years. Don't try to touch it. It's working. Why? The project managers at that time, I realized that there were two different ones. The ones that didn't want to change, and the ones who wanted to learn. And it was more or less in that moment of my life that I became a technical project manager, and I started reading a lot of books, trying to go to a lot of conferences, listen to people with more experience than me, and listen to people who were doing different ways. And I was saying, oh, that's interesting. It's a different way, and probably it could work. It's something different. And I could understand why people were scared of the change, because you are getting out of your comfort zone and saying, no, that's complicated, it's not going to work on our company. The project teams that I was working when I was doing or trying to become agile on my companies, they were with testing, dev, the BA, even PM, and the sponsor, trying to work more together with small increments, but always the ops team, they didn't move. They were still on the dark room. And in some companies that I worked for, they were even on a different continent. They were in Asia, in India, China, and it was really complicated to talk to them. One of the things that I really like about Agile is how you can try to estimate better. But from my point of view, estimate better, it doesn't mean that it's going to be 5 days and it's 5 days. For me, estimate better is to discuss together and to get a shared understanding. That's the reason I really like the shared understanding and to make understand the sponsor, whether it's a big, medium, or a small thing. When I started being project manager and also Scrum Master, I always protect the team without giving days of estimation for the sponsor, and the sponsors were sometimes unhappy with me. But after discussing all together, it was sure that at least everybody knows what we want, what the sponsor wants, and everybody has the same idea. Like that is easier to know for everybody, whether it's a big, small, or medium thing. And if you want the future A, but you know that it's big, and you have the second and third one on priorities that are really small, probably the sponsor would say, okay, let's do the B and C first, and after the A. And that, with that understanding, that ability to trade off in the scope, the sponsors were more willing to trust the team, because before that, they were thinking, well, the devs are telling a lot of things, but they are not explaining me why. Now, with that time with Agile, I managed to get everybody on the same page, the same understanding, and be able to get the same idea. So the mindset, it was a little bit different. I always think with some of the estimation techniques, they are not the best, but they ensure that everybody is able to talk. When you do planning poker and everybody is trying to guess the story points or the T-sort sizing and everybody is trying to get the size of the T-sort, if I think that something, it's 8 story points, and someone else think, no, it's only 1, there is a conversation that starts, and I can understand why that person thinks that it's only 1, and they can understand why I think it's 8. Probably we're both wrong and it's between us, or probably it's even bigger than that. But that motivates conversation. And that is the key. If you don't talk to others, they don't know if you are having the same understanding than them. The biggest change for me when I was helping people doing Agile, it was to get the sponsor to trust the team. Instead of saying, I want this, is I need this problem to be solved, or I need a new feature on the website. And all together, they were discussing, trying to find a solution, and try to find the different steps to deliver the future. Because sometimes, if you want to have on your website a My Account, you can have a lot of different things on the My Account, but you can have small iterations to get better, and you can work in with small increments, and the sponsor is going to trust you better. But now it's DevOps. With the company that I'm working, we are usually help people to get into the cloud, to help people to automate things, to help people to bring together the teams of developers and operations. Because they realize that there is a lot of waste of effort on the misunderstanding, a lot of effort of people not trying to understand each other. I keep thinking about the understanding because you need to try to think from the other point of view. When I was a developer, it was so easy to think, okay, I'm a developer, I want to do this with this object, these classes, everything. But I wasn't thinking why it was important for the sponsor and why it was important for the final customer. One of the clients that I had, it was a big travel distribution company with a lot of agents that they were selling products by phone and in person. They told me that when they were doing a big transformation, everybody in the company was spending at least 2 days with the agents to understand how they were selling their products, how they were using the backend system to actually look for the holidays, the different options, and sell to the clients. Each time that a developer was there, the following week, they had a lot of ideas how to improve. Because they were saying, you know, they don't use the system how they think they should be using. They use the system in a different way. That, it was the same with ops and devs. When you develop software, you don't think how it's going to be operated. And the operation of a software is ultimately what is going to make money for the company. It's not developing software, it's how the software is going to be operated and used. Because when the software is in use, it's going to generate the money. Not when you are building it, not when you are developing, not when you are testing. It's at the end, when the final user is actually using your product. Teams, they have changed. Before, the application and the platform, not all the part of the platform, it was more for the development team, and operations were always thinking about infrastructure, operating system, and a little bit of the platform. Now the whole team is thinking about all the 4 steps on the software or the application. It's really important that, because when you're developing something, you don't think how it's going to be on the infrastructure, how it's going to be the memory use. Or I wasn't at that time, because probably I wasn't a good developer. Again, when you are trying to organize the infrastructure, you are not thinking about how the developer was actually coding the software. When you are working together and you are able to do a little bit of both, you can change your mind and think, oh, we need to do some kind of agreement and some kind of modifications to be able to have everything working better and faster. And the teams now, they are a little bit different, all are together. The sponsors sometimes they're a little bit out, and that's the reason for me the role of the project manager is important. Maybe not the name of the role, project manager. Maybe we can change that to delivery enabler or a helper, because I like to help people. That is important because the project managers, when they are long time in the company, they know a lot of people on the C-levels and also the developers. So those are the first ones that if they are really engaged with the DevOps change, they can nurture a continuous improvement mindset. I always want to improve. If you want to improve, you ask the others to improve as well. With the risk, in Waterfall, you have the ride with the risk, assumptions, issues, dependencies that you log. There is a risk, this is the owner. There is an issue, this is the owner. And after that, usually the project manager will say, okay, it's logged, I don't do anything else. Now it's important to get people within the company to be aware of that risk. Sometimes it's not within your team, it's another team that it could be affected. And that coordination between the different teams to mitigate the risk is important. Sometimes you need to get in contact with different Scrum Masters of the team to get them to coordinate to mitigate the risk. And within the company, when you raise awareness of the risk to the C-levels, they can decide whether it's acceptable risk or not. The best for me to remove all the impediments is to advocate for a CI/CD culture. If you are testing everything, continuous integrating everything, you are going to spot the problems before they arrive to production, or they are going to be fast enough to fix it, because normally you have already in place all the CI and CD. One of the important things is to facilitate communication, not only within the team, but also outside of the team. With the team, I did sometimes to put 2 people in a room and discuss, okay, you need to discuss about this, so talk, because they were always sending emails, and when you send an email, the other person who is going to read your email is not seeing you or is not hearing you, and the communication is not the same. One of the important things is I always would like to have the CTOs full-time with my developers, the sponsor full-time with my developers, because like that, I'm sure that all the communication and the understanding is good, but we know that they are busy people. Maybe they have 1 day a week, if we are lucky, with the team. We need to be sure that that time is really, really used in the best way. Because at the end, time is money, and probably their time with their salaries is going to be expensive. So that's one of the things that I think the project managers or delivery enablers can do right now. Of course, when they are not available, you need to have the trust of the team and the trust of the sponsors that you are bridging the communication, not filtering. You should be able to bridge the communication to get everybody aware of any problem, any advancement in a good way. I did have some project managers in the past that they were filtering, and it wasn't the good thing. Sorry. One of the things that I try always to do is to be the one that is helping the whole team to think as a team, because I always think that the project manager or the delivery enabler should be part of the team. And the way that I manage to do that is to start thinking, okay, if they think myself that I'm the project manager or the Scrum Master, or I think about them that you are the developer, you are the QA tester, you are the BA, I'm not thinking about a team. I'm thinking about roles. So what I try to do is humanize myself, get them to think that I'm a person, that I'm Antonio, I'm not a project manager. And sometimes to get that, you have to start getting to know them out of the office or out of the time that you are working. It's not easy, I know, but you can get it. And if you manage to get everybody thinking as a whole team, the sponsor will continue trusting the team, but everybody will trust each other to be able to say any ideas. The change, instead of a sponsor saying, I want this, on Agile is, I need this, is anybody on the team should feel that they can actually talk and they can give ideas what we need and what we need to improve. And also, now we have the ops, so the feedback from production is really important because you can improve all the time. You can see that I'm not really a good designer, but I'm trying to do my best. So if there's any designer that wants to improve, please send me an email. Sometimes, how did I manage to be part of the team? Most of the time, you know the breaks that you do between 1 hour working and I'm going to do a break and discuss about coffee. I was always trying to be having coffee when someone else was having coffee or tea and discussing our normal life, weekend, how was your weekend. Sometimes I was explaining about my weekend. I know that we Spanish people were quite open and we talk about everything, maybe a little bit too much. But when you're inspiring people, yeah, I just moved to a new house, I just built new furniture, I'm a little bit tired. For sure, they're not going to see yourself as a project manager, as a scrum master, as a developer. They will say, oh, poor man, poor guy, he's trying to do things and now it's Monday, it's hard. Other way is after you know a little bit about them, you can discuss about books that help you improve. 2 books that I really like them, it's The Art of Business Value. In my company, we managed to read that book a lot of different people, and it's really, really good to make the sponsors and the product owners to read that one, and everybody on IT. Also impact mapping. With those books, you can discuss something to improve in the office, but not directly related to the current job. Like that, everybody should be able to improve and discuss. And of course, there's the funny part is each time that there is something out of the office, a football, a game, whatever, please be there. Sometimes I don't like to be there, or I'm tired, but it's important to get people to know you out of the office and to get them to say, oh, okay, now I know Charlie, I know Alex, I know everybody. That one, it's a funny person. It's not talking a lot, but when they talk, they have a lot to things, and that is going to make people to have the trust and the confidence to be able to say any idea on the meetings, and also to get out of the comfort zone. Remember, when you want to say any idea, don't be afraid of that, because one day, in one meeting about making movies, someone said that, oh, it could be a good idea to make a movie with a tornado full of sharks. And now they have 4 movies, and probably it's the craziest ideas ever. But it's an example that even if crazy idea like that can go to production, because you are not keeping your ideas for yourself. You are not keeping yourself within your comfort zone. You are getting out. And of course, sometimes some ideas, they are not going to get to production, but they're going to motivate someone else to say another idea. So a little bit of wrapping up. The most important thing is to achieve a final goal. Everybody is important. Not only the developer, not only the QA, not only the ops. Everybody is doing something to make the magic happen. And for me, I always think the developers are magicians for me, especially now that I'm no longer a developer. I don't think I could be able to be a developer anymore. And each time that I see working software, a new application, a new website, I'm saying, wow, that's really, really good job. And you can feel whether they were happy doing that and working as a team. So help them to work, help them to make magic. If you make everything to get the magicians to do magic, you'll see the magic. When I'm trying to help them, sometimes it's a funny feeling. It's like, you know, I'm driving a bus, it's funny. Sometimes I'm driving a bus with a bomb inside, and it's a little bit scary, but I have to drive the bus because we need to get to the point B all together. And sometimes you need to even push a little bit people in a good way to motivate them to work. But at the end, if you're trying to do something all together, you need all to arrive to the point B. If I'm trying to climb a mountain with the whole team, and one of them is not able to reach the top, I wouldn't be happy at all, because we wanted to be there all. That's the team spirit that I'm trying to get people to think. The difference for me on the mindset, on the Stone Age, we have the sponsor asking, I want this. With Agile, the communication improved, the trust improved, and they were asking, I need something new. I need a solution for this problem, and they were more willing to listen. And now it's everybody is able to say, yes, we need this, we need to improve, let's make it happen. So the inspiration for all my talks are my team, and also Danish Newsta give me a lot of feedback a long time ago. And I hope that you will be able to give me some feedback, especially if you don't like something. I need to know. I need to know to change whatever you don't like. So thank you. Some questions?
Have you met in your practice with people who are named themselves DevOps engineer?
Yeah, and a lot of time, the others that they do DevOps stuff, they don't want to be called themselves DevOps. So it's a fight between people that say, I'm DevOps. They say, no, we do stuff, but DevOps is a funny thing.
Yeah, so you're actually answered, yeah, because like your presentation shown it's from like it's a different skill sets that need to be a part of DevOps. But what to do with people who are named themselves DevOps?
Yeah, it's normally I don't trust. Trust is I prefer what someone else is saying about you, that this guy is able to do dev and ops because I know him. He's able to do that. That girl the same. They're able to do both. But if you say no, I'm DevOps, it's like when someone calls themselves an expert. For me, I could never call myself an expert on anything because that would mean that I think that I know everything. If I think that I know everything, I cannot improve. And it's really, really the different mindset. I know that I can improve all the time, so I don't call myself an expert. And it's the same with the DevOps. Okay, you can do a little bit of dev, a little bit of ops, but DevOps is the way of doing things all together. So we are done, yes? Yeah. I tell you, I speak too fast.